All right, everybody. Aloha Friday. Thank you for being with me as we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month and in festivities. Today, I have my fellow outlier brother. I tell you, Chason, you are doing not only great things on the business side, but great things on the nonprofit side. I really appreciate what you're doing. And folks, we're going to become talking about those things that he's doing. But Chason, before we get into all the good hoopla about you, tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what you're working on.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Mucho gusto. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And being a fellow outlier, how you shine. So I will say that I'm a guy that was the oldest of a gaggle of boys, and in a place where we did not have great maternal um, people in our family that were taking care of us and that influence. So we grew up without that, but our dad tried to do everything he could to shine a light. And my aunt and my grandmother tried to shine a light and be a blessing to us. And I grew up in the church. I grew up going to church 4 times a week and really seeing that influence. But somewhere along the path, through the trauma I experienced as a child and the things that life throws at you, I lost my way and I became a drug addict. And I failed out of college when a kid that had straight A's and should have just like aced it. I really turned left too many times and lost my way. And I had to get to a place where I was okay with myself, okay with the person staring back at me. And I did that while I was in the culinary world. And I had chefs that were like, you know what, you're capable of so much more, and you're just wasting your life. And the first step of any type of transformation like that is understanding that you are powerless against your addiction and that you need help. So I started down that path. Here I am approaching 60. I'm working on that path, and I'm still doing the work to keep myself focused and in line, and making sure that I give love back to myself, and that I am okay with what I represent, and that my mission, vision, and purpose with everything I do represents who I am. So that has been the challenge and the change. In 2018, I left corporate America to open my own. I had opened my own human resources boutique company back in 2012. But in 2018, I left corporate America, a very toxic environment, to do HR work for people, for small companies, those mom and pop grocery stores and restaurants, and people that normally don't get attention from HR companies. No SaaS. We would come in and do project-based work. And then in we had the pandemic, and a lot of my clients got shuttered. They just disappeared because they were small mom and pop places. So I turned my focus into helping nonprofits. I had been working with nonprofits. I had volunteered. I had done some of the work along the way, but I had never really focused in on them. And during the pandemic, I started donating and doing a lot of pro bono work. And then I changed the business to now HR consultations only work solely with social good entities to help on a project-based situation in HR. And then in 2017, I opened up HR for You Incorporated, which is a charitable 501c nonprofit in New York. And our goal is to empower leaders to give back to their people with wellness and wages and well-being, and pour into people to make sure that we don't have these socioeconomic issues that stem from people not being able to take care of themselves and their families. So that's what we are doing. And we're very excited about the work. We're very excited about getting our one of our biggest programs to date, Transformation Kitchen, off the ground and running this year. So I'm very excited about all of it.
And we'll be talking about Transformation Kitchen here in a little bit. But, Chason, your beginnings, your upbringings, I think that a lot of folks have something similar, maybe not as obviously as specific, but we all have an opportunity to be raised by parents. Not all of them, are as committed as someone like or would appreciate. But there's always somebody, right? There's always that somebody in our tragic story that comes in and shines the light and allows us to breathe a little easier. It may not be as great as it could be, but they bring that element of, I can make it. I can make it. And being raised in the church, I as well was raised in the church. I did not come to meet Christ till about 10 years old, because for some reason or another, when I was being raised, they raised me in what they call Santeria, right? So it's a it's a dark thing. It's a dark thing. So when I was 10, and I got wind of this man called Jesus, I was like, hold up, I need that. I need that in my life. And so at 10 years old, I started on that journey. But nonetheless, pitfalls, right? Left and right, things that I had to decide for myself that I was not prepared for, led me down some prodigal routes. And obviously, God's grace and mercy is big enough, right? It's big enough to reach you, even in the darkest of spots. Because when he comes in, everything lights up. So I'm glad you share that. It is part of our testimony. It is part of who we are. And not that I'm happy that either of us had to go that route. It would have been so much nicer if we didn't. But although we did, just a witness to that there is no place God cannot put his hand in and reach you out, right? And reach out. Yep. So thank you for sharing that. I am in the likens of that. Although my trails were different, God's mercy reached both of us, and
right.
it's the great thing. So now you come out of HR. I love that you said toxic, because we could all talk about toxic all day long. But those toxic work environments, many are still experiencing that, even with a pandemic influence of at home. The toxic people didn't go away. You just wasn't in their face all the time.
Right.
So their practices still kept on going. What was the straw, right? What was the straw that broke the camel's back for you in terms of that type of environment?
Well, I think the final straw was we were hiring people for a new location. And I was the director of operations. So I was in charge of not only our warehouses and our production plants, but I was in charge of all of human resources. And I was in charge of putting people in place in our retail stores. We were a food-based wellness company that manufactured and sent to Sally's and Walmart and places, in Target, places like that. And then had our own brick and mortar shops as well. And I was hiring people for a new location and was presenting the offers to them and other people inside the organization as well. And the owner decided he wanted to delay the opening of the brick and mortar location. We had everything in place. Like, we were in the 11th hour. There was no reason to do it. And we were profitable and things were shining. He would not give any explanation. And I had to go back on my word to the mall and to like literally go to all of these people that we had just hired and all of these things and how it impacted people. You've just given notice to your other place. You're getting ready to start with us. And now in the 11th hour, I got to tell everybody, oh, I don't have a job for you because we're going to delay by a month. And people can't survive like that. And even though I tried to convince the owner, hey, let's rethink this because this is really going to damage our reputation, etc., he wouldn't do it. Absolutely wouldn't do it. So that was it for me, because I didn't want to associate myself again after steps and steps and steps. There's tons of stuff I could talk about that were really tragic that we did, but that to me was the final blow. And so, yeah, I would rather walk on my own 2 feet. And I actually had enough clients at that point. I was doing that on the side, but I had enough clients at that point that I was like, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be all right. So yeah, I think the sad part is that we still see this hubris, this ego, this drive for shining a light on on people that are in a leadership, a toxic leadership, that are toxic leaders. They want to shine a light on themselves in a positive way. And they only care about profits, and they only care about, themselves. And they don't realize they're shining a negative light, and that they're destroying their company, and that they're creating a situation that can't continue to be profitable long term. So it's a tragedy, and people a lot smarter than this guy, a lot smarter than this hockey mug have talked about it for decades, how important people are and how important pouring into people, taking care of your people, how important it is. That hasn't changed. So how do we do it a better way and make sure that when we do that, we will have profits? When we shine a light and we take care of people on a daily basis, they stay with us. They care about the business. They're more productive. They're healthier. They have less time away from work, like being sick. They are more productive all the way around, and they communicate better. There's so many positive things. So why not? Why not do it? It only affects you in the long run.
Absolutely. And a great leadership lesson. Folks, you know that we always have to talk about leadership on these shows because it's important. But Chason, you bring up a great point in terms of leadership. And I kind of alluded to a post earlier that I had put out in terms of what, leaders do when they focus on themselves and kind of blame others. But in this,
that was a great post.
Thank you.
A great post.
All inspired by my son, by the way, which
yes,
was a conversation with him. And I said, man, no, we got to talk about that. But the point is, leaders fail to understand the importance and the consequences of their words and actions. When they choose themselves first, they leave everyone else out. And when you do that and you're leading a company, well, guess what you just did? You just cut the workforce legs right out from under them. And now you have them trying to fix your mistake or your misstep or your bad decision at the cost of their reputation, not yours. And so it's a shady way of doing things, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But those leaders listening, the companies that are listening or viewing this in one way or another, it is time for you to consider your ways, as we like to say in the church, because a lot of people get damaged by these things, especially if you're in the sales side, right? You're out there making deals and telling people this and that, and then all of a sudden, you're the one that has to go back and say, unfortunately, the company went a different direction. How about we just say what it is? This
Yeah.
this joke has decided that he wouldn't do this, but
Yeah.
no, we gotta put it nice. The company decided to go in a different direction, but you have to eat that, you know, sandwich. Let's just say
Yeah.
sandwich. You have to eat it as a worker. So yeah, I could see how that would have, especially after a while under some situations like that. While when you had to decide, hey, it's either my reputation or this company, and I'm going to preserve mine. And
Yeah.
so, good on you to decide for you, and in favor for you, because although I wouldn't say, hey, everybody that's just tired or they could just leave, there are different circumstances, right? You were in a circumstance where you was, hey, I'll be okay. I was in a similar circumstance, and I said, hey, I'm gonna be fine. I'm out of here. And so, and for those listening, and I have a 3 o'clock Aloha Friday. So if you join us then, we'll be talking about finances, because that's what allowed you the financial footing to say, you know what, I'm not putting up with this. I'm gonna be all right. And so
Yeah.
it usually is a financial back. But so let's go back to your company. You start your company and you say, okay, I got this. Let's do it. What was your main focus? What did you want to do at the beginning, and how has that changed maybe to what you're doing now?
Well, it's interesting because what I was doing prior to the pandemic is totally different. Well, it's not totally different, but it's changed since the pandemic and since our focus on social good entities. So before the pandemic, since 2012, we were doing everything. So we would go in, and you need a change in personnel. You need to evaluate where you are as an organization. You need sexual harassment prevention training. Any kind of project based thing that you would normally hire a human resources company for, but you don't want to be tied in to paying them monthly for things that you only need one time or you only need over the course of a week. So we came in and we were able to do that. And that is what allowed us to build our client book. And then after the pandemic, when we had people close, et cetera, what we ended up doing and going with social good entities, now a lot of what we do is policy and procedure manuals. And it's because a lot of social good entities are so focused on the financial piece. They're so focused on raising money because it's a constant struggle to get out there and get donations and do, so that you can fund your programs, that they forget about the internals. They forget, like, it's been 10 years since we updated our policy and procedure manual. Guess what? The world has changed a lot. And so I am not a fan of every year, changing your policy and procedure manual, but you might need addendums and you might need to make adjustments. I also like to look at the forefront. What's happening in California and Oregon and other places that are a little more progressive than where you might be necessarily, and say, okay, how do we look at the forefront so that we can create a policy and procedures that manual and activities around that you're comfortable with, that align with your mission, vision, and purpose, and that you can go a couple of years before you have to go through this major overhaul again, or you can do addendums and add in. So I like to be forward thinking and present, hey, this is coming down the pipeline. So we talked about, I'll give you one example. We talked about rooms for mothers that are nursing before that was like becoming policy and procedure on everybody's corporate plate. It's because I saw it happening in California and in Oregon. I'm like, hey, look, they're starting to do this, but it needs to really happen. It's something that moms need to have. So an area where they can go, a private area that they can go and nurse, or, have their place to fill up bottles when they are at the workplace. And it's important, and it can't be like a janitorial closet that you shove them in. So talking about that, those are just one example, but how do we forward think to take care of our people and still make it about them? But that's really a lot what we do now and how it's changed.
Yeah, it's powerful because those that can see the future are prepared for it. And thankfully, in this type of work, a lot of it is legislative driven, right? So you hear, hey, this bill is on the docket to be voted on. And oh, by the way, within it, there's an HR issue. There's some implementation that's coming down. And the folks that do that type of legwork and research are ready. And if you're a company and you are not poised in that position, you're not there to or have somebody that is always looking at the next thing coming down, at the HR conventions and this and that and the other, then this is the type of service that you need for addressing those things on the spot. You talked about, hey, I maybe I don't need a couple of years. I just need this thing done right now to be in compliance with law, to be in compliance with my people, to be in compliance, financially. This is what I need, and then you can call Chason, and he'll get you right.
That's right.
So I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, so you've also dedicated this part of your life to nonprofits. Now, nonprofits, for those that don't know, are focused on those things and issues that other companies that are making profit don't want to, right? Of feeding, sheltering, supplying, doing this, that, and the other. They are the glue to the rest of the industry, because although it says nonprofit, they do get an influx of money, right? So they do deal in the money issue. It's just that hopefully not everybody's padding their bank account with it, because obviously that's not what that's for, but it's for services to supply the needs of the community that corporate America is not, so they're selling products and stuff, right? And so it is really a heart-centered work when it starts out, right? I see a lot of the missions and determinations of nonprofits. It's always for service, servicing the community in one way or another. How did that come about in your head, other than maybe the church background? Because I know we do a lot of that. We volunteer kitchens and stuff, and we'll talk about the kitchen here after that. But how did that come up in your head that, hey, this is a good idea for me to do?
Well, it's funny that you asked that, because nonprofit. I'm going to say this first: nonprofit is a business, and that's important to note, because it's some terrible statistic. I want to say that the latest that I saw was 62% of all new nonprofits fail in the first 5 years, and the reason for that is they get distracted from their mission, vision, and purpose, or they never set themselves up. And this is primarily the reason. They never set themselves up financially and structurally to be successful down the road, because it is a marathon. It is not a sprint, especially in this day and age. And so you have to be prepared for the long haul. What are we doing now, but how are we preparing ourselves for tomorrow? It is a tremendous conversation and a tremendous load to take on. So I fell into human resources by accident. I'm a guy, I'm taking psychology classes. I'm an English major in college until I'm forcibly removed from the college because not only was I failing out, but here I had been moved from one dorm room to the next dorm room to the next one because I was creating problems because of my drug habits and my behaviors. So I'm removed from the premises, and I have a job as a line cook at a restaurant. I'm not making a lot of money, and I'm blowing all my money on terrible things. But as I started to get myself together and started seeking help and started going down my path, people found out that I liked people and that I was good at teaching people and I was good at listening. And so I started getting more and more responsibilities of hiring, training, having courageous conversations with people, which we need to teach. As an aside, we need to be teaching our kids that. And I love that the person, the 13-year-old in the story of your post this morning happened to be your child. I thought that's fantastic because that's going to be somebody I'm going to be watching because they have a pulse on what leadership is all about. But so I fell into HR, and all of the things I told you previously that we've been talking about led me to a place that I was able to give back. And I've given over 900 and just since 2019, I've given over 1,000 hours of pro bono work to other nonprofits. I've helped 2 nonprofits get off their feet and get going and get moving and have stable legs. And we at HR for You were able to get off the ground, have stable legs, and are really, we have 5 programs that are paid for. We are all volunteers. There are no paid people on the staff yet. And our 6th program, Transformation Kitchen, which we'll talk about in a minute, is on its way to being launched and getting out and doing great things in the world. My reason is because I'm at a place in my life as I approach 60. I'm at a place in my life where I don't have debt. All my kids, my youngest is grown and on her own and doing her thing. She just turned 29. And my wife and I want to create an impact in a community that needs it. I live in a community that is Black and brown, and 6 out of 10 people make below a living wage, 30% poverty rates. And I can help. I can do more. I can stand up in the gap and be a person that can create change. Not so that I have people going, great job, Chason, and patting me on the back. I don't care about that. I want people to look back at our legacy and say, you know what? I love what HR for You is doing. And they have to actually Google to find out who that crazy hockey dude was that was leading the charge. I don't care about the accolades. I'm not impressed by people that, have all of these line of things they've done. I'm impressed by the work you do to help yourself, your family, and others. That's what's impressive to me. Those random acts of kindness, the things we do in life to uplift other human beings in a world that needs it badly. That to me is where I want to live. So we've set ourselves up in our life and within our means to where we are able to do this and have an impact. And so I'm thrilled to be part of it. I'm thrilled for the things that we're doing. I'm excited that we have 100 partners in 6 different countries. that we've got an incredible advisory board, an incredible board of directors, and that there are so many people that are standing in the gap and saying, hey, Chason, tell me what you need. How can I help? And that means a ton to me. Outliers Project does, man, so many people from the Outliers Project have stood up and said, what do you need, Chason? How can I help? It's incredible.
I love it. And I love that story began with somebody recognized something, that I read this thing today where it was, it was specifying, life can get pretty dirty, and we end up all mucked up, right? We got mud everywhere. We got dirt where it shouldn't be, and we're just trying to make it. And somebody, right? We talked about that somebody earlier. Somebody recognized, hey, this guy's got a knack for talking to folks. He got a knack for having some tough conversation, but still getting on the bright side here. We need to use that. And, for those leaders that are listening, it is fully your responsibility to identify people, to identify what they're great at, even as mucked up as they may be. Identify what they're great at and employ that. Empower them. I'll share this, and I typically don't shy from sharing, much, to make a point. That young man, 13 years old, that I mentioned in my post today, was the young man that inspired that post. And we're in a time of challenge. He's in a time of challenge right now, and yet and still could say that.
Yeah.
So don't look at people, for those listening, don't look at people for their current challenges. Listen. Just listen. They out of the mouth of babes it'll confine the wise, right? And people already know that they have challenges. You don't have to highlight it. What they want to know is that, can you listen to their voice in the midst of the storm? Can you listen to the help in the midst of the storm? Can you identify their strength in the midst of the storm? And that's squarely on the shoulders of leaders. So I hope you take that charge and execute. So great. Thank you for sharing that, Chason, because so many leadership lessons from that story. Now, chef, cooking.
Yeah.
Cooking. One of the things that is near and dear to my heart is sitting in my kitchen and just cooking it up, brother. I love it.
Yes.
That's my second zen. My first one is in the garden, picking the herbs, because I'm going to cook. So, it's one of those things. A lot of things that we have as passions don't ever make it to the, to the spotlight. You're not going to see me in front of Ramsey doing anything because I do it because I love it. You got into this culinary thing and you're tying it into, and that's what I love about all the things that you're doing. You're taking these points in your life and you're tying it into service. So talk to us about this kitchen thing, because I'm taking a trip, brother.
Good. Well, I tell you what, we have different phases of the pilot program, but Transformation Kitchen is about teaching culinary skills, life skills, power skills to people in underserved communities. We are focusing in a lot on helping those that are working through their addiction to change their life, and people that are in reentry situations because they don't get a leg up. They're considered damaged goods, and the system is built to churn them right back into their situation. So go right back to using drugs when you come out of rehab. Go right back into a life of crime when you get out of jail or prison. So how do we break those cycles and remove those barriers and biases so that we can create a better tomorrow and help people learn to empower themselves. So Transformation Kitchen has got a lot of different fingers of the pilot program. We're talking to agencies now about a kids version. So how do we teach children to be community focused minded and to elevate their thinking about community and collaboration, and how to have courageous conversations at a young age so they are prepared leaders in the future. And then we're working in like I said, with adults that are from underserved communities, starting in our base here in Newburgh. And then we're going to build out. We're going to go to other states, other countries, where we're already having conversations about building transformation kitchens, because that can be an umbrella for many, many things. But the base of it is you're going to learn culinary skills, real life skills, and power skills, because I don't think learning things about empathy and learning things about courageous conversations are soft skills. I think they are power skills, and they will carry you further no matter what industry you're in. So we want to have people that are holistically sound, that just because they graduate through the program, we don't leave them there. We help them get a living wage job, either with the kitchen themselves or with a culinary partner. And then we work with them continuously to make sure they're okay. We don't want them to graduate, go through our program, and then end up, a few months down the road, they've forgotten everything. They've gotten off track. They've had the pressures of life get back on them. And the next thing you know, they're in prison again, or they're doing drugs again. We don't want that for them. So how can we keep up? How can we help on a long-term basis and keep that thread and have them help other students that are coming in, that are starting their journey? So to me, that's the incredible thing. That's where we are. It's like, how do you teach people to fish and then have them teach others to fish, empower themselves and then empower others, and create collaboration and communication and community? So
amazing. Goodness. Look, I just tagged Sherry Garcia, and you may know of her, may have heard of her. And she's doing a lot of great things in that realm, right? Of those
nice.
that may not get that second chance, right? And so I'm going to make sure that she gets wind of the kitchen,
Awesome.
because it's a great pair that you guys would make. And so that's kind of some of the things that we do here on the show, folks, pairing people, understanding what Chason is doing, and understanding in the network who's doing something similar or can be supportive of that. But like, let me tell you something, folks. Everybody on earth needs a second chance. I don't care if they have just been born, because even as a baby, right, you can poop the diaper. So as adults, we're doing this a little bit more messy, but everybody needs a second chance. And if you have not needed a second chance, you go ahead in the DMs and tell me where you live so that we can have some dinner together, because I need to know. Everybody. It may have not been something that landed you in front of a sheriff or a policeman or a judge or behind bars or whatever, in an institution, whatever. Everybody needs a second chance. And shame on us having the ability to do so and provide that second chance, and we didn't. Number one is of my belief that we'll be answering to that in the after, right? If not here on earth, we'll be answering in the after. But this is where we have an opportunity to do something about it.
Yeah.
I was reading and the story, right, about the rich man and Lazarus. There's going to be a time you don't have that opportunity, even if you wanted to. Hey, get that guy to come down and give me a drop of water in my tongue, please. Hey, like, sorry, that opportunity is done, right? All right. Send somebody so they don't suffer. Sorry, that's done. Yeah. And so we have an opportunity here on earth right now to impact someone else's second chance. Don't strip somebody from that, because I know we all had an opportunity at a second chance sometime in our life, and we are who we are today because of it. So I love, Chason, that you're doing that. I love that you're not only just doing that, following the fish model, you're teaching how to continuously drive that impact for themselves, and that is about the most impactful thing you could do, because they're working it. They're look, there's nothing but smiles on my face when I'm cooking. Nothing. Yeah.
Right.
The world could be all over. And the good thing that, and I'll tell you this, what I do when I cook is that whatever the cuisine it is that I'm cooking for that night, the host music is playing in the back.
Yes. All right.
Bro, I set the stage, man. Yeah, I want people to taste Italy when they eating that Italian dish. Right?
I love it.
So just a little thing, but I love that you guys are doing that. I love that you have partnered with a big group of people internationally, even to start this even out there. That makes me itch, bro, because I know that the impact, man, it's beyond your city now. It's beyond your. It started. The idea started right there. Personally, Chason had it, and he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do this for my city. Find a way for my community." And now you're talking about going abroad and starting something. Man, you can't stop a good thing, folks. You can't.
Cannot.
So tell me how you feel about that, man.
Well, you know what? It's funny. You mentioned, you were talking about, passages that you have read in the Bible. The one thing that I remind myself is that we are called to be beacons on a hill. We are called to be a light source. So other people go, why are you different? Why are you always smiling? Why do you help others? Why do you care? That's powerful. It's powerful when you have the opportunity to tell someone, because I'll be fully honest. I sit here and I will do my thing and whatnot, and I don't shove. I am a Christian, but I am not overly religious from a standpoint of, hey, I am this denomination, that denomination. I believe in God. I believe in Christ. And I am happy to tell anybody at any point in time. So I want to be that light where people say, why are you different? I'm that beacon on a hill. And I'm doing the good work so that my Lord and Savior is happy with the things that I have done in my life, and that I can walk up on that day and Peter's gates and be like, I know I did a lot of bad things, and I know I had a lot of things that I should not have done. And I appreciate you forgiving me for those things. But I left a legacy of positive change that you would be proud of, and you can be proud of, and then I'm proud. And
yeah,
so
folks.
That's it. That's for me. It matters. So.
They say don't talk about it, be about it. That's what it's about. Be about it. You wanna say you are, be about it. And you are doing that, my man. I really appreciate all that you have overcome, all that you are doing now, and all that you will impact here in the future. Folks, it's been a great time listening to these stories, and I hope that you got something out of it. At a minimum, at least consider Chason for your next HR moves, because he's got the hand on the pulse, man, and he can get you right. Now, Chason, you're doing all these things, but what do you have coming up immediately that people can support you in, and
Well,
what is coming up, in the future that you want to share with them?
well, thank you. I appreciate it. We actually have a week from today, we have an event that is called Feed for Good. And Feed for Good is a 4-hour live telethon from noon to 4 Eastern time. You can buy a ticket for only $20. You can come in and out however many times you please to see whatever you want. We're going to have live culinary demonstrations from chefs. We have artists that are going to be part of, showing off their wares. We have got giveaways of books that are fantastic. And we've got music. So we've got art, food, music, the three things that just transcend every language, every barrier. And we are going to be putting on this show. All of the proceeds go to Transformation
Did you know
Kitchen.
that Amazon has a 50
and helping us get Transformation Kitchen off the ground, get it running, and do the things that we can do to create an impact. And so that is happening a week from today. And you can get your ticket now. You don't have to wait till the event. You can get your ticket now. We've got some wonderful sponsors like the Outlier Project and Something New LLC. But there's a lot of great people, and you'll recognize some of the outliers that are actually in the event as well. So we're excited about that.
Outstanding. I'm excited with you folks. We'll put those links in the comment section here after the session, and also plug in a link for the Outlier Project, which is where Chason and I met. Let me tell you a little bit about that bunch of folks. We are, no joke, shaking and moving the things around what you see. And, it's little individual things. There are some major things. They look at right now, there's a big event up in the Northeast, that they're wrapping into a retreat. There are so many influential and shaking and moving kind of people in this Outlier Project that if you want to be part of something that is truly making a difference on this planet, the individuals in this group are really doing that. And you may never hear them in the spotlight. You may never see their names in lights, although we have had some people up in Times Square, right? Up on the billboards, but, worthy of those type of spotlights. But there are people doing things in the silent, and they're just part of us. We support each other, and it's amazing. So I'll put that link as well in the comments for you to check the Outlier Project out. But Chason, brother, it has been a joy to host you on Aloha Friday Live. I know this was probably a month in the making for us to do it, but it is, prime time, right? Today is the time and the hour to do this, and I'm so happy to have been able to afford this conversation, have it recorded, have it on replay. If you're seeing this on replay, thank you for joining us. And for all those that did join us and did not let us know that you was chiming in, thank you for going on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and joining us for today. Chason, bless you, brother, for all you do.
I appreciate it.
And folks, I'm telling you what, there is a lot that's going on in the background right now. We're actually thankful. We're thankful for all of the viewers that support Aloha Friday Live and developing the Leader Within podcast, because we have achieved the 700 plus subscribers on YouTube. And we are obviously on the march towards 800. If you'd like to join us, support us, buy a subscription. That doesn't cost you anything. And I guarantee that everybody that comes through these programs are going to educate you in one way or another. So if you're interested, go to YouTube at DTLW Podcast, subscribe, and make our day by helping us to get to 800. I do want to thank Parade Deck for hosting us and for live streaming our program, Aloha Friday Live. They are a content creator platform for military spouse, veterans. So we're so thankful for Parade Deck for doing that for us. And I'll tell you that we are so happy that you joined us. The next show is at 3 o'clock. So coming up here in a couple of hours, I hope you join me for that. That's going to be around financial planning, financial education, and all those things that will get you in a position to say, you know what? I don't need this job. I'm going to go and be fine all by myself. Chason, God bless you, brother. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see each other in a couple of hours on Aloha Friday Live.